I'm Sam.
And
I'm Sam.
And I'm Rob. Now, all over the world, people love to eat, and most of us have fate, and most of us, and most of us,
And most of
and
us,
most of us,
and most of us,
and most of us have favorite food we like to cook. We like to. Often this involves a recipe that
involves,
Involves.
involves, يتضمن.
Involve.
often this involves a recipe that's written down instructions explaining
Instructions, التعليمات written that written down instruction explaining
how you combine the different
how to combine
how you combine the different items of food
Items. items
how you combine the different items of food
items عناصر items how to combine the different items
of food you are going to cook. The ingredients to a meal. My recipe is for bangers.
is for pankers
Bangers.
such a pankers
Recipe is for bangers and mash. A cheap and popular British meal made of sausage and mashed potato. Mashed potato.
Is a big part of our lives. Our lives. Pleasurable we do with
pleasurable
our lives. Something pleasurable we do with others. And a way of discovering the flavors and tastes of other cultures.
In this program, we'll be doing just that. Discovering the food culture of Ghana.
discovered the culture of food in Ghana in West Africa
And hearing about one woman's quest to preserve her
one woman quest سعي quest
woman's quest to preserve her country's
to preserve her country الحفاظ preserve her country's traditional
woman's
recipes.
traditional recipes. And as usual,
وكالعادة
be learning some related
be learning some related related,
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 We'll be learning some related vocabulary along the way. Vocabulary along the way.
but before we start, you, Rob, it is the classic, it is the British dish, that British dish,
dish طبق,
dish, British bangers and mash, bangers and easy to understand why mashed potato is called mash, but how did sausages come to be known as bangers? Is it to be known as bangers?
to be known as pancakes,
To be known as it. A, because bang is a
because panks,
it. A, because bang is an old-fashioned word for
old-fashioned word
for pork.
for
B,
pork,
for pork. B, because sausage making
because sausage making
machines used to make a
machines used to make
a banging noise.
panging noise,
A banging noise. Or C, because sausages would explode in the
because the sausages
would explode in the frying pan. Go.
explode
Explode in the frying pan.
explode in a frying pan, explode temperature,
Explode in the going bang. Going bang.
I think it's A. Bang is an old-fashioned word.
is an old-fashioned
Is an
word.
old-fashioned word for pork.
Okay, Rob, I'll reveal the correct.
I'll reveal
Okay, Rob, I'll reveal the
اكتشف
reveal.
I'll reveal
Okay, Rob,
I'll reveal سأكشف
Okay, Rob, I'll reveal the correct answer later.
I'll reveal the correct answer
Correct
later.
answer later. Food writer Abner Ofejima.
Food writer
Abner Ofejima was born in Canada but moved to Ghana but moved to Canada as a child.
Ghana, but moved to Canada as a child. After
School, she would go for burgers and fries with friends
before heading home
before heading home
قبل العودة before heading home
before heading home to eat traditional Ghanaian food with her family. Food cooked with ingredients like dawa dawa, a spice made from roasting locust beans.
from
roasting locust beans and fufu.
Her mother's cooking gave Abner a love of gave Abner a love of traditional recipes. So much so that 5 years ago she moved. So much so that 5 years ago she moved back to Ghana to rediscover her country's food culture. But when she arrived
عند وصلت
Abner was surprised how much things had changed. Many traditional spices and ingredients were no longer being used. It was more common to see tomato ketchup than Ghanaian chipotle sauce.
Here, Abner describes how her grandparents used to cook in the old days. Service per food chain.
So they would actually cook the yam, you would cook the plantain, and they will use, the mortar and the pestle.
The mortar.
Mortar.
The mortar.
Of the mortar and the pestle to actually pound it, Now in Ghana, you could just buy potato flour and just make fufu on the stove. But we're
على الموقد.
on the stove. But we're losing that, right?
But we're losing that.
Right? That communal experience.
Communal experience. شعبية. That communal experience. Losing that.
That community of cutting the yam and cutting the plantain and cooking it.
Cutting plantain.
And cooking it.
Abner's grandparents made fufu the traditional way, using ingredients like yam and green bananas called plantains. These were placed in a mortar and pestle.
Pestle. مدقة. Pestle. Mortar
and pestle. Cooking equipment made of Cooking equipment made of a bowl, the mortar, and a heavy stone, the pestle.
حصى.
The heavy stone, the pestle, which is used to grind ingredients together.
تستخدم لطحن.
Used to grind ingredients together.
The traditional method was to pound fufu, to crush it into a paste or powder. But nowadays, many people buy ready-made flour and cook fufu the modern way on a
بالطريقة الحديثة.
on a stove.
على الموقد.
For Abner, this represented an unrepresented.
Unwelcome.
represented and welcome.
Presented an unwelcome departure from
Departure.
Departure.
departure from ancestral ways of cooking, and she decided that
ancestral way.
Ancestral.
He decided that something had to be done. Here's Ruth Alexander, presenter of BBC World Service's The Food Chain, to continue the story.
Abner was so taken aback by the loss of know-how about Ghana's traditional recipes and ingredients in the towns and cities that she decided she had to do something and set off to rule.
انطلق. rural. Set off انطلقوا.
Set off to rural areas on a fact-finding tour.
On a fact-finding tour.
We traveled across the Upper East region in Ghana.
Upper East. The Upper East region.
Accra East.
The Upper East, just to document indigenous dishes and to ask, what are people dishes and to ask indigenous dishes.
Document.
وثيقة. Document in Greek.
Indigenous dishes and to ask.
Document.
Indigenous.
Just to document indigenous eating now and learning that a lot of dishes are lost.
Abner was taken aback by the changes in Ghana.
فوجئت by the change.
That dishes are lost.
Abner was taken aback by the changes in Ghana's food culture. She felt shocked.
صدمة.
Shocked. She felt shocked and surprised. Traditionally, recipes were passed down orally from mother to daughter. Instead of being written down. To daughter, instead of being written down. So a generation of young Ghanaians.
الجيل.
So a generation of young Ghanaians were losing cooking know-how, the practical skills and knowledge.
Practical عملي. Know how, the practical.
Know how. The practical skills and knowledge of how to do something. Skills and knowledge of how to do.
Practical skills and knowledge.
Skills and knowledge of how to do something.
Abner travelled around Ghana to document traditional recipes.
Avena traveled around Ghana to document
traditional recipes, to record information about them by writing them down or taking photos before they were lost forever.
We're lost forever. We're lost forever. We're lost forever.
They were lost forever.
If her inspired you to find, if her story has
If her story inspired
you to find, inspired you to find,
inspired you ألهمتك
inspired you to find out about your own country's traditional recipes, or discover more about Ghanaian cooking, you can read more on Abner's website, Living the Ancestral Way.
And after all this talk of traditional Ghanaian food, it's time for your question about a traditional British recipe, bangers and mash, or sausage and mashed potato. Now, you asked me about the name banger.
So, no, you asked about.
Now, you asked me about the name banger, and I guessed that bang was an old-fashioned word for pork. So, was I right?
You were wrong, I'm afraid, Rob. The name banger started in World War I when meat shortages resulted.
When meat shortages
Meat shortages resulted.
أسفرت.
Meat shortages resulted in
نقص.
shortages. Meat shortages resulted in sausages being made using water that caused them to explode, going bang when cooked.
Well, that's certainly one way to spice up your cooking. Okay, let's recap the rest of the.
Okay, let's recap خلاصة. Okay, let's recap the rest
of the vocabulary, starting with mortar and pestle, a bowl and a heavy stone which is used to grind ingredients together.
To pound something means to crush it into a paste or
powder.
If you're taken aback, you feel shocked and surprised.
Know-how is the practical skill.
Know-how is a practical skills and
Knowledge needed to do something, such as cook.
And finally, the verb document means to record.
Document means to record.
Document means to record information about something by writing about it or taking photos.
Once again, our 6 minutes are up.